truly believe in the magic.
What's up, Magic fans? I'm Mikey, and welcome to this week's second episode of Penny for Your Thoughts, the Orlando Magic UK podcast. As always, I'm joined by our friend from the Valleys, Geraint. Evening, pal. How are we?
Very well, thank you, mate. Quick turnaround from last episode.
Absolutely. We're squeezing them in this week. And unfortunately, Paul's not with us today. He's shaking off the effects of a hangover. A migraine. I wish it was a hangover. That'd be more funny. But no, he's suffering from a migraine, bless him. So hopefully Paul feels a bit better soon. But we've got Gary stepping in Paul's shoes this evening, mate. How are you, pal?
Very fresh. Got a bigger and ready for this, Mikey. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. All good. Good stuff. And this week we are excited to be joined by a first-time guest on the show. He's the beat writer for the Orlando Sentinel, Khobi Price. How are you, Khobi? Thanks for joining us, mate.
Appreciate you guys for having me on. I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
All good.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So before we get started, Khobi, could you give us a little bit of insight how you became the beat writer for the Sentinel and how you got the job covering the Magic?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess before I joined the Magic, joined the Sentinel covering the Magic, I was the beat writer for the Miami Hurricanes down at the South Florida Sun Sentinel, sibling paper. So there was, I guess, a familiarity with me between the papers and who I am, my work, etc. So I was made aware about the job. It was going to be open, or it was open. And from there, I applied. I got in touch with the editors and interviewed a few times. I guess they liked me, and they wanted to bring me on to cover the Magic. And this is happening throughout November. I would say by mid-November, I knew I was going to come down to Orlando to cover this team. And by December 1st, the first day, I was down here.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, we're pleased to have you on board. So how did you get into journalism and covering sports? How did that start for you?
Yeah, I got into journalism during college. It was after my second year in college. I wasn't really sure what I was trying to do. I knew I wanted to stick around sports, stay in sports, so I wasn't sure about the route to do so. I was a business student at first, and that was not working out for me. So I need to find something else to, I guess, latch onto. And so in between the summer of my second year, my third year in college, I did an internship, with the website called iSportsWeb. No longer exists now. I don't know if that's a blessing for me or a curse, because you guys can't read my old crappy stuff. Still got a lot of crappy stuff, but not a whole lot of old crappy stuff, the beginnings, right? So, and from there, I really loved the writing. It was just like a sports blogging site. So I really loved the writing. I really loved the research and all of it. So from there, I stuck with it. I worked at my student newspaper for a couple of years during my last 2 years in college, did a couple of internships my last couple of years in college. And then I worked at the South Florida Sun Sentinel for 2 years before coming to Orlando. So it really started that summer after my second year of college, and I just stuck with it. And here we are a few years later.
Awesome. And how's the first, what has it been, 6-7 weeks since you stepped in to cover the Magic? How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's crazy to say it has been 6-7 weeks. It's been great. It's a learning experience more than anything else, at least for me. This is covering an NBA team was what I wanted to do since I started the journalism journey. So for me, this is giving me pretty much everything I've wanted and more. Still just adjusting, learning, trying to get into the groove of things, trying to get to the hang of it, especially mid-season. You're jumping right into it. So definitely learning experience, but definitely experience that I'm appreciating and just blessed to have.
Awesome. Well, we got some more questions. We're going to fire at you a little bit later in the show, but we want to pick your brains a little bit on a few topics as we go through. But we'll start with recapping the last couple of games. So on Monday, the Magic faced the Portland Trail Blazers in what was, I think you guys would probably agree, a pretty poor performance, pretty lackluster. It was difficult to watch. The Magic lost by 10 at 98-88. The Blazers were without Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum made his return. There was big nights for players like Yusuf Nurkic, who had his way against Robin Lopez. But the Magic lost on Monday. Then they played the Philadelphia 76ers on Wednesday night in what was probably one of the best first halves of the season. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But the Magic went on to lose 123-110. They had a 10-point halftime lead. And then Joel Embiid decided to step it up another gear or two in the second half and tied his career high with 50 points. On top of that, this week, Magic head coach Jamal Mosley and assistant coach Nate Tibbetts both entered NBA health and safety protocols, and they've missed the last couple of games. So I think they'll be out for a couple more before they're back. We saw RJ Hampton and Terrence Ross both leave last night's game with injuries. I think we were all pretty worried when we saw RJ go down in the fourth quarter towards the end there, where I think his leg slipped and he fell awkwardly, and I think his knee sort of bent the wrong way is probably the best way to put it. But I think we're still waiting on news. I think Khobi's still waiting on news on that as well. But hopefully it's good news for RJ and we don't see him out for too long. Apart from that, Markel Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Michael Carter-Williams, Etuan Moore and Wendell Carter all remain listed as out. But Wendell was a game time decision last night in Philly. So hopefully it's not too long before we see him return. But first thing to talk about, because we're not going to dwell on two more losses because they're racking up as the season's gone on and we're just going to keep repeating the same thing. But let's talk about Mo Bamba first, who had a career high 32 points, 4 rebounds and 3 blocks. He was 7 for 8 from the 3-point line. He finished with 28 points in the first half and he finished the first half of that crazy sequence where he had 3 blocks in 3 defensive possessions and he was knocking down shots all over the 3-point line. So guys, I'm going to go to Khobi first. How do you feel about Mo Bamba? I know there's been reports that the Magic might be shopping him for a first round pick. We're going to talk about trades a little bit later on. But how do you assess Mo's performance, not just last night, but what you've seen from him since you've been covering the team back in December?
Yeah, I've been encouraged by Mo's performance, the past, 6-7 weeks that I've been around, at least, the concern, and even before, I took over this, I understood, the concern or the thought was, Mo has these moments, but he's also been very limited in terms of his playing time as a player, the first few years of his career. So what would he look like, instead of playing 16, 17 minutes a night off the bench, what would he look like playing, somewhere around 28, 29, 30 minutes as a starter? And for the most part, can improvements be made? Absolutely. Can the consistency be improved? Absolutely. But it is encouraging that you do see moments like last night where he can ratchet it up and just give you a performance where you're like, wow, that's what you can be.
And new projects.
That's what you can be as a, my bad about that, as you can be.
That's all right, it's good.
From the center position. So encouraging. We know he has the shooting touch, right? We know what, his length, his size. We know he can be a rim deterrent. It's about for him putting those skills, those rare skills together as a guy as big as him together consistently on a nightly basis, on a weekly basis. So even if you're not putting up, 32 and 3 blocks every night, your presence is more, that's more so about him. Your presence is felt on a nightly basis, game to game. And I think that's the big thing about Mo. And the one thing I've also been encouraged about overall in the season is that he's positioned himself defensively better throughout the year. He's not, falling in that position like he did in previous seasons. He is starting to catch up to the mental, the more mental positional side of the game as well.
Yeah. Yeah. G, what are you seeing from Mo?
Yeah, that's good analysis from Khobi there. Beginning of the season, it did feel like he, had the shackles removed from him from, his time playing under Coach Clifford. And I was very encouraged. I was the last 2 weeks possibly seeing a couple of nights where the effort for me wasn't there. Couple of examples. It was a possession right at the end of the first half against the Blazers where he just lobbed it out. He didn't sort of communicate with Cole very well. and he looked a little bit disinterested. So we were messaging in the WhatsApp group that we've got, and I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I'm done with him or what. But I've always been Team Mo Bamba, and I'd preferred at the beginning of the season we'd given the extension to him over Wendell Carter Jr. But Wendell's obviously proved himself, to be worthy of that extension. And then, of course, last night happened, and he erupted. That second quarter was beautiful to watch. It's just a shame we didn't sort of feed him anymore in the second half. He might have got a shot, two, 3 shots. Whereas the Sixers, went to Embiid all the time. Maybe perhaps we should have been trying to, more pick and rolls with him, just getting him some looks. Everything he was putting up was falling. So it was very encouraging to see, and we know he's capable of doing it. As Khobi's mentioned, his main skill set is the ability to knock the three from outside, rim protection. You just want to see him almost beef up a little bit, because it does feel like, it's a skinny kid in the playground when he's going up against Joel Embiid. But, Embiid's a superstar. So very encouraging, especially with last night's performance. So I've not given up on him just yet.
Fair one. Well, he was 10 for 13 from the field in the first half and 2 of 2 in the second half. And it was a bit odd why they didn't go back to him early. But I think some of that would have been the Sixers would have game planned to that in the second half to try and stop him getting those attempts out on 3-point line. Gary, what did you see? I know you've just seen some highlights because you're snowed under with work, pal. But what are you seeing from Mo this year?
Yeah, this week's been an interesting one, Mikey. But I think with Mo, we're getting these flashes of where we see what he can be. So particularly the first half last night, we're seeing like this is what we could have. And I think we've got to see as long a view as possible at this Mo Bamba and see what he offers. I think Khobi made a really good point as well about his playing time. And on paper, he's a 4-year pro. But in terms of experience and game time, he's probably a 2-year pro. So we're probably looking really like in court time and experience, a guy who's somewhere in his second season. So there is still time for him. And I think when he can do what he did last night, it gives you that hope that it could be with Orlando. And I really hope it is. But I would agree with what G said as well. I wouldn't measure him so much against Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid, for me, is the best center in the league, even ahead of Jokic. But that's when we play the likes of Montrezl Harrell. I would like them to have that little bit more strength, because whenever I see Montrezl Harrell lining up against us, I'm just cringing and waiting for it to happen. So but I am encouraged. There is enough there for you can go, it isn't over for more. I think there's a lot of potential still. So we've just got to, I think, ride it out, really.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. Does this feel like a typical Aaron Gordon game that we saw in the last few years, where he has those odd games where he goes off on one and you're thinking AG might still be that player? Or do you think we could see this more consistently from Mo?
I think he needs to develop a post game. You saw him backing down a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if he was backing down Tyler Hero, and I can't remember if he made the shot or not, but he didn't look comfortable. Now he's got the size and he should be able to do that. You look at Nick Vucevic when he joined us, and he had all the opportunity. He worked on his post game, and he was, his footwork was brilliant to back people down, make the pass. So you just want to see a little bit more from Mo in terms of developing his game, because when he does have the big games, he's knocking down the threes, isn't he? Yeah. As opposed to the post game. I know the league's changing, and a lot more is reliant on the threes, but you just want to see a bit of variation, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll talk about the trade season, because that's fast approaching in the next few weeks. But one more thing that we didn't cover on Monday's episode was the Magic announcing that they've signed Jeff Weltman and John Hammond, the president of basketball ops and the general manager, to contract extension through till 25-26, I think. So what do you guys think about the results that Weltman and Hammond have produced since 2017? I know we've obviously made the playoffs 2 years. We've traded for the likes of Markelle Fultz, Wendell Carter Jr., RJ Hampton. I think they've been pretty successful in the draft. Jonathan Isaac, Mo Bamba, Chuma Okeke, Cole Anthony, and obviously this year we had Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner. But overall, are you guys happy with the extensions? And do you guys think they're still the guys that we should be leading us forwards? I'll go to Gary first.
Personally, it made my day when I saw that news. I could give you a number of reasons, but the two I'm going to go with, the first one is their remit was to get us back to the playoffs, and they did it. And the second one, I think the draft this year, like I could talk about other draft picks, but the draft this year where we had the 2 picks, we didn't expect Suggs to slide. So if we look at who they actually really put their time and focus into scouting, it was Wagner. And allegedly they said, he's our guy with the number 8 pick. And I think they pick him up when, there was a lot of debate and discussion. What was the best pick there tells you a lot about their draft insights and their scouting. And if we're going to be with a high pick again this year and potentially next, they're the 2 guys I would want calling the shots on the draft picks.
Yeah. Khobi, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, looking back as far as 2017, they've delivered on what they, I guess, set out from back then. And now they've obviously put themselves in a position to have a rebuild, which you want them. The tricky part about that is that you want them to be steering that. Like, that's how I think that's actually what you're going to judge the most for their tenure, whether it's until whatever their contracts end or if even beyond that, how they navigate the team out of what it was before, which, let's be honest, is like more period of mediocrity. You weren't going to get that high. You weren't going to get that low. So you got yourself out of that position. You got the playoffs a couple of times. That's a good feeling. But now you're saying, all right, we got that. We need to aim higher. But to aim higher, we need to rebuild the foundation. And you want the people who are breaking it down to build it back up. You want that same vision, ideally. And then you can judge them for how they build back up. I mean, and you can be encouraged by how they've drafted. You listed off the names of the guys who they have drafted, and it's up to this point it's been encouraging. Obviously, we need to see more from a couple of these guys because their careers are so young. A lot of these guys are just so young too. But there are encouraging parts of it, and parts that need to be improved, of course. But it makes sense to extend them when they did, just because you committed to the rebuild last year, and you want to see it through.
Yeah, G.
Yeah, just echo what the guy said. It's very difficult to hit on, most draft picks, and drafting Isaac, Bamba, Okeke, Anthony, Suggs and Wagner, there isn't really a bad one that hasn't panned out like what we had in years previous, when we drafted Hazonia, Nicholson. You look at like Daniel Orton back in, I can't remember, it was 2012 or something like that. Not in the league anymore. Fran Vasquez didn't even come over. The old regime, they had a couple of good picks. Oladipo went 2, AG went 4. They weren't superstars, but you had the high picks. Obviously, Redick was a decent pick back in 2007, I think it was. And they haven't really lost out on a trade, I don't think. Like you mentioned, Mikey, getting Fultz for Simmons was low risk. And then obviously flipping Vucevic, Gordon and Fournier last year it proves to be the right thing as it stands. And you look at that Chicago trade now, would Chicago trade Vucevic to us for Wendell and Franz Wagner? Of course they would. So I think they would anyway, because they got a higher ceiling and they're putting up decent stats. But interestingly as well, they haven't had to give away any picks, have they? And they've managed to get a lot more going forward. So there's a couple of first rounders coming in 2023 from Chicago, or 24, 25 from Denver. And then you've got an array of second round picks between 25 and 27 from Boston, Detroit and Milwaukee. So you've got to be very happy with the job they've done. They've sorted out the mess that the Hennigan regime got us into, basically. And it's going to take a few years just to reset. And also the free agent signings, bringing people in like Robin Lopez, been very good for the development of Wendell, Mo, etc. Moritz Wagner as well. That's obviously played a part in Franz's being being comfortable in Orlando and being able to thrive. And, you know, we picked up on Moritz on Monday, how we love his game and what he brings to the table. So, no, very, very happy.
Absolutely. Okay, right, G, do you want us to kick off the guest section, pal?
Yeah, of course, mate. Hold on. So, Khobi, tell us about your background your sports fandom. Growing up, who did you support, and who do you still support?
Yeah, so still supporting now is kind of tough just because of, I guess, the position I'm in. But growing up, I guess I'll focus more so on the NBA since, you know, we're talking about the Magic. I was a big Bulls fan. I guess pull back the curtain. I grew up in Chicago and Chicagoland area. So my Bulls teams were the Baby Bulls, Kirk Heinrich, Ben Gordon, Luol Deng, etc. And then transitioning to like peak fandom for me would have been the Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, young Jimmy Butler, Ronnie Brewer. Ben Gordon was still like on one of the teams that like they went to. I think they went to the playoffs with like it was maybe like Derrick's rookie season and Ben Gordon was there still. Which to me, Ben Gordon, I tell people he was my first favorite player, NBA player at least, or at least one of them. So yeah, I was a big Bulls fan growing up. That was my team.
Yeah. How about the NFL and the other American sports? Was it Bears and?
I grew up a Patriots fan. I got into football when I was I actually got into football, I think, before I even got to basketball like that. And we lived in Boston at the time. So that's like I became a Patriots fan when we lived in Boston. And then when I moved to Chicago, I still stuck with the Patriots because, I mean, let's be honest. There was very little for me as a young kid to be inspired with by the Bears. So it wasn't like I was going to become a Bears fan. It's like, oh, look at this. I have this great young QB I can be a fan of as a kid, or I can have whatever poo-poo platter quarterback the Bears were trying to throw out there when I was, 5, 6. I don't remember who the quarterback of the Bears was at the time. I think Rick Grossman.
Jay Cutler, was that?
No, so Jay Cutler was later. Yeah, I was later. Like Jay Cutler was later. I was about to say Rex Grossman. I remember him being the quarterback when I was like a preteen. I don't know if he was a quarterback when I was like 5, 6. I don't think it was Daniel Orden. It was it's always been a mess at quarterback for the Bears. So whoever it was probably not it. But yeah, I grew up a Bulls fan, Patriots fan. Patriots were my favorite, like of all like any sport, were my favorite team. To an extent, still are. And then I grew up a White Sox fan. Grew up on the South Side, not a Cubs fan. Cubs are the North Side. We don't like the Cubs where I'm from.
So have you had a chat with Dante about the Patriots? Yeah.
I actually have not. Have we? No, I actually have not chatted with Dante about the Patriots. I have not. I don't believe we have. But yeah.
No. So you're obviously wanting the Bucks to win the Super Bowl, yeah?
Yeah, I absolutely am. And you know what? This is
good, man.
This is every week, Khobi.
I'm glad you asked that because people be like, "Oh, how are you going to still cheer for Tom Brady even though he left you guys?" Absolutely. That man brought me like 20 great years of childhood from like 4/5 to 23. I'm not going to turn my back on him because he would decide to go somewhere else. He brought more happiness than, a lot of other people have brought to their NFL team. So I'm cheer for him, even if he's in Tampa.
Yeah, he's bringing us happiness at the moment as well. So happy days.
We need to get you a soccer team.
What'd you say?
We need to get you a soccer team.
So I actually covered MLS out before I moved to covering the Miami Hurricanes. I covered Inter Miami for a season and a half. But yeah, if
you poor man.
Oh man! Like I said, if you guys want to give me a team abroad, just I'm open for applications. Just
Sunderland.
Don't listen to Mikey. Whatever you do.
Sunderland. I think Lewis Morgan played there. I'm pretty sure he did.
He did, yeah. He's on if you go on Netflix, Sunderland Till I Die.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Yep. There we go. So that's the application. Like you already threw in. There we go, Gary. You threw in application into my portal. There we go.
Khobi, when I'm next in Orlando, if you are committing to Sunderland, I will 100% bring you a Sunderland jersey.
All right. See, I need to see that. Does sound nice. So maybe the applications are closed. That's my team right there.
Good bad.
Gee, you're not going to
ever, by the way.
Gee, you staking a claim for Cardiff City?
Well, no, we're in the lower leagues. Well, as a Sunderland, actually. So no, you're welcome to join. To support the best team in Wales, but I'm sure you're probably happy with Sunderland now.
Like I said, the applications. Like I said, we have time, right? When do I need to have it? I need to have like a deadline, maybe like April. Right? Is that a good time? April 30th.
Yeah,
send in all applications.
Yeah,
I'm going to book my flights tonight.
Good stuff. Well, Khobi, you've had changing the subject of football back to the Magic quickly. You had Magic fans salivating the last few weeks with some of the videos you were posting on Twitter with somebody called Markel Fultz posting jump shots in practice and shoot-arounds. What can you tell us about the returns of Fultz and Isaac? How close do you think they are to coming back?
So I guess I'll start off with both of them. I'm pretty confident saying they'll both be coming back this season. I don't know how often that's said, but I'm confident saying it'll be this season. Fultz will be coming back before Isaac. How far in advance, I'm not entirely sure. Because with Fultz, I mean, he's been doing contact. He's been doing contact work. He's been doing, he's been practicing. He's been on shoot-arounds. So he's much further along. I think for them, it's just figuring out the right date. But there's still not a determined timeline. Even when he does come back, I don't think he's going to be, he's not going to be playing his, big minutes like he was before. It's going to be, easing back in since it is a pretty significant injury. With Jonathan, it's going to be further down the line. I would, he hasn't even started contact work yet. So I'm not saying he's going to be right after this, but I would not expect him to come back any earlier than like maybe March. I'm not expecting him to be back in February. That's just me. That's more speculation than information, but it's also speculation based off what we've seen before with other guys.
Fair enough. That's fair.
And with how slowly they've played this. So I wouldn't, if that's the earliest I would expect them back.
So Khobi, if you were looking at our current roster now and all these young guys we've got, who would you say is the most likely player to become an all-star?
Yeah, and saying you guys, when you say that at the top of my head, I'm leaning Cole.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's honestly between Cole and Franz. I say Cole because I can see the skill set, especially as a guard, is I think the path to becoming an all-star is very tangible, like very, very tangible. Not to say it's not for Franz, but I could definitely see him getting to that point. We've just seen it from last year to this year. There is questions about whether, can he be a true lead guard? Can he truly lift an offense up? And I think some of that is just going to have to see, as he continues to progress. But it's between those two. I lean Cole right now, but if you ask me like next week, I may say Franz. It's really between those two, but I'm going to say Cole right now.
I would 100% agree.
Yeah. And Cole's in a bit of a slump at the moment since he's returned from his injury. But I don't know what you guys think. I think a big part of that is Wendell not playing, setting those big screens out on the perimeter to help him create that space. Do you guys agree? I think he's forcing shots up that he probably wouldn't take if Wendell was out on the floor.
Yep, absolutely.
Wendell's absence is definitely felt on both ends, but especially as someone who can help set Cole up, help open up space too.
Yeah. So with the trade deadline looming, Khobi, do you believe the Magic will be active come the trade deadline, or do you think we need to evaluate a healthy roster before we actually realize what we've got?
I think we both can be true. I think both are true. However, I don't think the evaluation is going to stop the team from when I'm going to say be active. When I mean be active is take and receive calls. I think, we can look at a few guys on this roster who make sense in terms of the trades. And I would imagine we would talk about that in a little bit, but between, Gary, Terrence, Robin, Mo, et cetera, like the positions they're in from a contract standpoint, they all make sense as trade targets. So they're still going to evaluate who they have and, how the pieces fit together. But I don't think that's going to stop them from being, I guess, inactive. I don't expect them to be inactive. It may not be like last year, where just like, oh my gosh, they're making all these franchise-altering trades. But I would expect some kind of, even if there's not movement, like I could see them standing pat with everything. I would at least expect them to be, some activity levels from a conversation standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see Gary Harris, particularly after the way he's played in the last 25 games? Could you see him returning this offseason, or do you think he should make it past the trade deadline with us?
I could see him. I mean, like if the Magic don't get what they're seeking out for Gary, I could see them saying, we're going to bring this guy back. He's been a solid veteran for us, especially these past 20 plus games, 25 games. A solid veteran. He's still young. I think he's like 27, 28. So it's not like he's in his early to mid 30s. He's about to get phased out. He still is in the prime of his career. So I could see him possibly coming back next year, and maybe they reevaluate the trade scenarios, because that's the thing. It's all fluid, right?
Right.
Maybe they're like, look, you can always do a sign-in trade. You could always sign a guy with the thought of, we're going to revisit these discussions next trade deadline when, you're on a longer deal and teams may want you for longer. Like it's always a continuous part of all these discussions. But yeah, I wouldn't rule out Gary either coming back, or at least, some kind of mechanisms being worked out during the offseason for him.
Awesome.
Yep. Well, it's a big 3 weeks till the trade deadline. 3 weeks today, the 10th of February. It's 8:00 for us in the UK. Are you guys expecting any blockbuster deals, whether it's Magic related, non-Magic related? Is there any names you expect to get dealt between now and then? What do you reckon, Khobi?
Yeah, I'll take a look outside the Magic, because I don't think they're going to make true blockbuster deals. I don't think they're. Yeah. But even outside the Magic, the big one is Ben Simmons. Just see what happens with him. I don't expect, at least as of what I know right now, I don't expect him to get traded. I think they're truly going to, go into the offseason with that situation.
Okay. What about the Lakers? Because I saw JJ Redick calling them out as they're all past it the other day, which went down quite well. Do you think they got to make a move?
Yeah, I would imagine they would make some moves, but I don't think there's going to be any blockbuster moves. I do believe that Anthony Davis, LeBron, and even Russell Westbrook are going to be on this team post-trade deadline. So that limits what you can do in terms of who you can acquire. I know they've been tied to Jeremy Grant, but that's why would the Pistons do that? Who are you going to give them that makes it worth their while? And it's not like they have a whole lot of draft capital. It's not like they have a whole lot of, you have Taylor Horton-Tucker, who I personally like, and I think he could do well in the league, but I'm not sure how much the Pistons want to trade Jeremy Grant for a package surrounding Taylor Horton-Tucker.
Yeah. I agree.
It does feel that the Lakers overvalue players. Taylor Horton-Tucker, he ain't all that, is he? Come on. You're not going to get a Jeremy Grant for him. I'm sorry, I think they're deluded. So that's just me.
I think the Lakers will fire Vogel. I think that'll be the move.
Okay. Interesting.
But I don't see any other way. Like, nobody's going to take Westbrook's contract, and what else would you do? And I think that's Magic Johnson was calling it out on Twitter recently. I think it was. He called out the organization. I think they will do something, but I think it'll be the coach that changes.
Yeah. Could be right. Well, it's going to be an interesting 3 weeks before the trade deadline. But Khobi, we appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. We'll definitely have to do this another time. This is great.
Absolutely. And maybe after the deadline, when everything's gone down, we could have you back on at some point before the end of the season.
Absolutely. 100%.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Okay, right, on to our predictions for this week, or the predictions just gone, shall we say. So the Magic played twice that we recapped earlier in the episode since our last episode. The Magic went 0-2. Paul, G, myself, and Hank all went 1-1, so we were all wrong this week, so nothing's changed in the win-loss column. but never mind. We move on to this week. So we record our next episode next Saturday, the 29th of January. The Magic are about to start a 5-game homestand. 4 of those games are before we record next week. Starting with Friday against those Lakers, who are 22-23. They've lost. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. That's a midnight tip-off on Friday night. Then we got the Chicago Bulls on Sunday, an 11 o'clock tip-off. They still lead the Eastern Conference with a 28-15 record. They have also only won 5 of the last 10 games as well, but they've started to get a few players back, like Alex Caruso, I think, returned for the Bulls last night. Then we've got the the Clippers next Wednesday. They're 22-24. They're 4-6 in their last 10. And then we finish with the Detroit Pistons next Friday night. They are 11-33, also won 5 of their last 10 games. So we've got 4 teams coming up, boys, who haven't had the best run of form. They're going 500 at the moment. So what do we reckon to this week? We got 3 midnight tip-offs, and we got an 11 o'clock tip-off on Sunday against the Bulls.
To be 500. I'd love to be 500 right now. Right, do I go with my head or do I go with my heart? Right, the predictions is on. So, are you going to say what Paul said first?
No, I'm going to go to you first this week, G.
Right,
because
okay.
you jumped straight in there. I didn't even give you the option.
Okay. I want to say 2-2, but I'm going to go 1-3. Obviously, we play my least favourite team in the whole wide world on Friday, and I'd like that to be the game that we won. However, we do play the Detroit Pistons, who we should beat, but we've said this twice already this season. The Bulls will be difficult. Yeah, that's true. We play the Bulls, and I can't see us beating the Bulls. The Clippers, I don't know, actually. It depends if Markel comes back for me. But then Khobi's just said he's going to be limited minutes. So let's go 1-3 for the.
Well, I was going to say, before you nail it in there, I'll go through the injury reports for the 4 teams, and obviously the Pistons game might change because it's still over a week away. But the Lakers have currently got Anthony Davis out with a knee injury, who's going to be evaluated next week. Sekou Doumbouya is currently listed as out, as is Kendrick Nunn. So the Lakers got 3 players missing. The Bulls are currently without Lonzo Ball. Zach LaVine's out. Javonte Green, Derek Jones Jr. and Patrick Williams has been out for pretty much most of the season. The Clippers are without Kawhi, who is fairly close to returning, I think. There's been rumours that he might be back soon. It'd be typical if it's against us next week. That seems to be the thing that happens against the Magic. Jason Preston, Paul George and Nicholas Batum are all listed as out for the Clippers. Marcus Morris, one of G's favourite players, is day-to-day. And then the Detroit Pistons have Luka Garza, Frank Jackson, Jeremy Grant and Isaiah Livers out, and Killian Hayes is listed day-to-day. So all 4 teams have got a good 4 or 5 players missing at the moment as things stand. But is any of that swaying your prediction, G? Or are you sticking with 1 or 4?
A little bit. I didn't realise the Bulls had that many out, but no, I need to get this right this week because you're ahead of me at the moment. So I'll go 1-3, and I think we'll beat the Detroit Pistons. But I'd like to be wrong and for us to go 4-0 or 3-1, just beat the LA Lakers.
How many beers have you had?
3.
Gary, go on, mate. What's your prediction for the week?
Okay, I'm going to try and put a positive spin on my week this week. So
I like it.
We are going to go 2-2. I'm saying that, anticipating that Wendell's going to be healthy.
Yep.
I think we might be the team that ends Vogel's time as Lakers coach.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that, but also I think Dwight's going to move into 10th on the all-time on this rebounding list that's going around.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Lakers game might be quite a big landmark game. So I think we'll beat the Lakers. I think we'll lose to Bulls. I think the only way we'll beat the Clippers is if the Jokic brothers decide a holiday at Disney and puts us for Morrisville. And I think we will, just on sheer law of averages, beat Detroit. So we'll go 2-2. I think something's got to give there. We don't have to, but we can't keep losing to Detroit. So 2-2.
I like it, Jerry. I like it.
Well, I got a short 0-4 prediction by Paul this afternoon before we jumped on. Should I? No, I'm playing tactical. I'm going 0-4 as well. I've got to go different to G. Yeah.
Really?
Well, we're playing law of averages, aren't we? We should beat Detroit. We're playing 4 teams this week who've won a minimum. Won the most out of their last 10 games is 5 games. So none of them have won more than 5 games out of their last 10. So they're teams that are going through their struggles as well, with players missing. We're due a home game. I've been saying this, I think, for 2 or 3 weeks now. We are due a home game, and we've got 5 coming up. So you'd like to think that we'd nick at least 1, but I don't know, man. This season. I don't know what you guys think. It's just it's really wearing on me now. And you think we've only got 36 games left to endure, and we knew it was going to be hard. Do you know what I mean? Shout out to anybody that's still watching this this basketball at the moment, like, and staying up late, staying up live to watch games, knowing that you ain't likely going to win. I don't know if you guys watched the 6-Man show. I think you did earlier, G, and they were going through the stats. And I want to say the Magic have only won 2 games when they've scored 110 points or more. They've won more games when they've scored between 102 and 110, which doesn't make much sense. But I don't know, man. You need Cole Anthony or Franz. You need one of them to break out of this shooting slump that the 2 of them are in, this scoring slump. Like I said, Wendell coming back, I think, will be a huge boost for Cole, which we already talked about earlier in the show. But I don't know. It's really difficult. Like I said, the Pistons game is the one you look at and you think that's the one on paper you should be winning. But we've lost both games to them this season already, haven't we?
Yeah, but if you start getting players back, I mean, Jalen Suggs has been back a week now. He's been very positive, coming off the bench originally. I thought our defensive intensity picked up, and he's been rewarded by, being put back in the starting lineup. And what were his figures last night? 14 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists on 5 of 14 shooting. And it was quite a quiet stat line, really, wasn't it? So I also think with Mosley not being on the sidelines, and the 6-Man show said this, and I agree with them, that the energy isn't there either the last couple of games since he's not been on the sideline, and I think that's playing a little part of it as well. So we need to get Mosley back. I actually think when you think Jalen Suggs kind of epitomizes the way Mosley likes his teams to play, like Suggs kind of fits that bill with his intensity. We need players back if we're going to compete. So we'll see. But I don't want to go the same way as G does, because I think you copied me last week. So I'm going to go. I'm just on that. I'm going to go 0-4 this week. All right.
Okay. So support today's episode and visit the official NBA Store EU by using our affiliate link in the description of the podcast. Shop the latest NBA gear and Orlando Magic merchandise, including shorts, t-shirts, the new Magic City edition jerseys. They're all available with international delivery. Use our code MAGICUK10 at the checkout for 10% off your entire order, or use the discount codes live on their website. Please note some exclusions may apply. You can find all of our links on our website, orlandomagicuk.com. Okay, right. Magic trivia this week. So we got 3 weeks until the NBA trade deadline. So let's have a bit of fun with Magic history at the trade deadline. Okay. So I'm going to throw a couple of trades. I'm going to throw a couple of players we acquired, and I want you to tell me what we gave away to get them.
Oh my gosh, I like it.
All right. Okay. Right. So in 2004, February the 19th, 2004, the Magic acquired Deshaun Stevenson and a 2006 second round pick. Can you remember who it was for?
Yeah.
So seeing as Gary said before we started recording again that he couldn't remember his code to get into his house, let's see if he can remember this one.
So Deshaun Stevenson, I'm guessing, would have been with the Utah Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
2004. This is like, I know we got Gordon Giricek off the Jazz. There's part of me saying, there's part of my head going, it's not this player, but I was going to say Juwan Howard, but it's not that player.
No, it's not.
No. You said the player. It's Gordon.
You've already said it.
Gordon Giricek.
We got Giricek off the Memphis Grizzlies for
we did.
Mike Miller.
Yeah.
And we also got Drew Gooden. So Giricek's the answer.
Yeah. Can't even remember the house code of my alarm this week. It's been that
Right, this one, like I said, these are all in random orders. I'm just throwing them at you. Okay, 24th of February 2000, the Magic acquired Anthony Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks in exchange for, can you tell me what they got in return?
In 2000. Oh my gosh. That's a tough one, mate. In 2000. I can barely remember the team in 2000. Is that like Armin Gilliam or Chris Gatling?
No.
What position was he?
Didn't play.
Oh,
this asset can't play.
Was it Chauncey Billups?
No,
that was the year before.
It was a second round pick and a trade player exception. It wasn't even a player. There you go. I just sort of throw a bogey one in there. Okay.
You've been working on that all day, I think.
I haven't. I literally just found this just now. There we go. Right. This is a big trade because this made quite a historical difference. In 2009, February 19th, Magic acquired Rafer Alston. Can you tell me who they gave up to get Rafer Alston?
God.
There's 3 players and there's a first round pick. So I'll throw the pick in there. But
well, thanks, mate.
So can you name the 3 players in 2009 the Magic traded for Rafer Alston?
Was one of them a center?
Correct. But I need the name guy.
Yeah, I know. Alarm code, mate.
It wasn't Tony Batty because he finished that season, didn't he?
Mario Kassoun?
No.
I think he was a few years before.
Want some clues?
Yeah.
One of them we acquired from the Lakers a couple of years before. I got him. I want to say, was that in the Trevor Ariza deal? Didn't we trade?
Was. Yeah.
Okay. The second one is got a bit of history with the Warriors. He is a center. I think he works for the Warriors, or he did. He was like community.
Donald Foyle.
Donald Foyle. And the other one I've never heard of, but I'll give you a clue. His first name is similar to my first name.
What position was he?
I have no idea. Never heard of the bloke.
I'm going to go with Mike.
on him.
No, it's a good shout. Mike Wilkes.
All right, yeah. He didn't play
Mike
much.
Wilkes. Right, I'm going to give you one more. Okay, so one of the more recent ones. I'll give you two more because these are pretty small.
Yeah, give us two more.
Right.
Because you gave us that awful one with no player.
This is true. 2018, February 2018, the Magic acquired a 2018 second round pick. Can you tell me who the Magic traded for a second round pick in 2018?
With which team?
The Phoenix Suns.
With whom?
That would have been Alfred Payton.
EP. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the last one, 2016, February the 18th, 2016, the Magic acquired Jared Cunningham, a 2020 second round pick. I'd have to look who the 2020 second round pick would have been, and a trade player exception. So who did the Magic give up to get Jared Cunningham, who I don't even think he even suited up for the Magic, and a 2020
again,
second
which
round pick?
team is this?
This was the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, that would have been Channing Frye.
Channing Frye. 2020 second round pick. Who would have that have been? Melvin Fraser? Without looking? We might have flipped it. Yeah. Paul would have loved that. It's got to be somebody like that, hasn't it?
Wes?
Yeah. No, Wonder was a couple of years before, wasn't it?
Wes was before that. But there we go. I thought I'd throw a stinker at you this week because I don't like giving G easy trivia questions. So
go on, do one more.
All right. Hold on. Let me find it. Oh, it's gone.
He's in the zone now.
He's in the zone. Well, he wasn't. He was still struggling. Okay. Right. Let's go back.
I can see that Cardiff Kuzma's up for this now. There's no ways.
Right. Okay, right. 2004, last one, February 19th, 2004, the Magic acquired Sean Rooks from the New Orleans Pelicans. Who did the Magic give up to acquire Sean Rooks?
I don't know. Stephen Hunter?
Gary?
Don't know.
Keith? No, I was going to say Bogans, but no.
Shimon Williams.
Oh, okay. That journeyman.
There we go. Good
Mikey's
stuff.
enjoyed that.
I did. I just like struggling. It's funny. It's like your 3-point shot, mate. Hey? He's still got an answer for this.
No. The guys took a video when we were playing on Tuesday night. I knocked down a 3 on Tuesday, so I'll try and get you the footage.
How many attempts did you take, though?
I think it was 1 of 3 from downtown on Tuesday. It was all right. As long as I've got the video of the made one. In fact, I think I scored 5 points in like 30 seconds. That was about it for the whole game.
Good stuff.
The microwave.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you as always for watching and listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. Hit that new notification button so you don't miss any future episodes. Make sure you visit our website, orlandomagicuk.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Orlando Magic UK. All of our links are in the description of the podcast. So from Gary, and myself, until next time, go Magic.